right one, tear me down. Obviously you don't know where I'm from. I'm from Baltimore City. I'm from Baltimore City. I'm from Baltimore City. I'm from Baltimore City. I'm from Baltimore. 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 I'm from Baltimore.
Hey, this is Biblical Jones, international recording artist. I got started basically doing music at a very young age. My mom was the choir director at New Elizabeth Baptist Church. So by the time that I was 5, I had my first lead song, which was I Had a Talk with God Last Night. And I saw that how people love to see somebody so young doing something that excited them, so it made me feel excited to do it. So as time went on, I started doing more songs. They were all gospel. Then you get into the teenage years and you get into the hip hop, and and it just came naturally. Everybody around me basically was doing some type of music or some type of dancing, but right after high school I went directly into the Marine Corps and came out, was going to be actually a police officer, but then I actually, on a day where I had nothing to do, I saw this actual flyer. It was at Park Heights in Belvedere, and it actually said, come down and do an interview for this play. Now, my mom also used to do plays in church, so I would be a part of that. So I said, I ain't doing nothing. Let me see what I can do. I've never auditioned for any type of play. And to make a long story short, I got the lead role basically for this play called Time for Life, which was actually funded by the state and a couple of private people basically, and we did a tour for the city, schools, and colleges. Yeah, it was a state-funded program that talked about AIDS and AIDS prevention, and did it for 4 or 5 years. And I was talking to the director, Brian Boland, basically. And I was just telling him, I was like, wow, it changed the whole course of my life, basically, because this was not something that I was going to do. And I said, all because of a flyer, basically, that was at Park Heights in Belvedere. And he was like, I never put any flyers at Park Heights in Belvedere. I was like, so how'd I get it? He said, I didn't go no place near there. He said, I have no idea how I got up there. I said, well, I don't know. Some things are just meant to happen. We're talking late 80s, early 90s. You got into the actual club scene. Started going to a club by the name of Fantasies. And Fantasies was just off the hook. And I was like, wow, in a time basically where hip hop was strong and ruling, you had these people that were coming together and they were everything that hip hop wasn't. And it was like amazing because, you had people that just wanted to come and be free and feel good and dance, and there was no mugging anybody. There was no testosterone to the point that like, oh, what you looking at? It was one of the places where you could be in a club and you could hug a sister or a brother basically, and it's like, oh, okay, and it's just straight. It was straight greatness, and the music was tight too. When you're so used to seeing so much hip hop dancing, to see dancing that was outside the scope of hip hop. And it was doing house music dancing, and it actually could rival the hip hop dancers. So I'm like, yo, this is awesome. I want to be a part of this. So when it comes down to it, make a long story short, I actually used to work with DJ Spin's wife. And DJ Spin's wife basically heard a song that I was doing because the guys that I used to work with, or the crew that I used to work with the theater company, we got together and we did a group called Project One. And at that time when we did that, it was an R&B song called Dry Your Eyes, and it was playing on V103 radio, and it was in the Hot 5 at 8 for about a good week, 2 weeks maybe, and she said, you need to talk to Spin. So I talked, and Spin was like, all right, we'll come through, tonight we're going to be doing some recording. And we just started doing some recording, basically, and next thing you know, basically, that was the actual original concept of my first house song, "Blessed." I've been blessed. So, about a couple of months later, I'm driving down the road, and I hear this song, and I'm like, "Damn, this is rocking." I'm like, sounds like me, and I'm like, "Oh, that is me." So it was one of them things, So that actually started my career, basically, as a house music artist, and that one particular song took me around the world a couple of times and got me notoriety to the point, basically, that at that time the Basement Boys decided to actually put me in Jasper Street Company, and Jasper Street went around the world a couple of times as well. So everything started to evolve on its own, and eventually everybody basically were doing their things, and I broke off and I actually became Biblical Jones. And Biblical Jones used to be a spoken word piece, was a spoken word label that I put myself in, because it wasn't just like when you did it spoken word, it was like back in the days, I don't know if you remember the movie Love Jones, was based on spoken word, Well, when I did my poetry or spoken word, I was trying to move you like religion. So I wasn't trying to give you a Love Jones, I was trying to give you a Biblical Jones, and that name carried on over into the house music community. So, and the rest has been history. It's funny because I was one of those people back in the day that used to be so scared as a child that we were going to run out of good music. I used to love music. I mean, when you're talking about Michael Jackson and talking about Earth, Wind and Fire and the Brothers Johnson back in the days, oh my God, I used to love that music. And it got to a point I was be scared. I'm like, what's going to happen when these guys die, So I was like, you know what? I still carried that over into my teenage years. So I said, let me see what I can do as far as not just basically singing, but let me see what I can do as far as producing. Because, I picked up how to play the piano and the keyboards and stuff and the arrangements of things by going to church so much as a kid. So, I started producing some of my own tracks, and they were well received. I already had a international notoriety as far as a house music artist, basically. And as time goes on, basically, I was the first person who put a face on what they considered to be the Mother Funkers, because the Mother Funkers was a group basically that was under Code Red, and eventually we started to move a little bit further, basically, and onward and upward, and I said, well, you know what, let's do more with this logo, let's do more basically with putting a face. Mother Funkers basically consisted of Sheila Ford, Mark Evans, myself, and we just were so well received. This was under Code Red, and everything started going well. And I was like, okay, well, everybody loves this logo. Let's do something with this logo. Let's put some faces with this logo. And eventually, I became the first face. That actually started to go with the Mother Funkers, because I was like, we need to start moving into a video age, because it's not just about the music, but people need to see you. They need to see the music. They need to see the artist. They need to see what's going on, who's who. We got to step our game up the same way hip hop stepped their game up. So I was like, okay, so I did a couple of videos and had my MF logo on it. One of the first ones I did with the MF basically was a song called We Will Continue. When that song came out, basically it went, I think, from the first 3 days to number 53. Within a week, it was at number 3. And from there, basically back then, the big thing was the Winter Music Conference. When I went down to the Winter Music Conference, basically, I was already known, not just because of the face, but because of the face, the video, and the logo. So I became that branded person as that Mother Funker, or the Black Mother Funker, as some people would actually say. So it just makes everything good. You come up, it's like a seed. You come up, you sing, you water it, you grow, you produce, okay, then you have your own business. Now it gets to a point realistically, it can be a one-stop shop. You can sing it, you can produce it, you can put it out, you can get it distributed. You got video rights basically for things, and that's where it is. And that's where we continue to go. Here's the thing. As time has changed, basically the industry has changed, and at one time you could get paid basically for mechanical rights because people used to buy these things called CDs and albums. But then when downloads came in, basically, you could stream it. So it's a situation where, as a business person, you realize that you may not get paid from the actual music that you make unless you're capable of keeping your own publishing, but you can still get paid because you have to make yourself your own independent franchise, and then you use that music as a catalyst to maximize your own personal celebrity. So now it's not about the music, but it's about the entity of you. You have to become your own franchise. And when you become your own franchise and you have enough notoriety, then you can have a product or a brand that you can put behind that. So I already had a product and a brand, basically, which was the Motherfunkers. So I said, here we go. Let me put this face and my notoriety, basically, with this logo. And it's been working out pretty decent. Yeah, I've got some stuff that's on the burners right now. One of the girls that actually started in one of my videos, first video that she was in, was a song on All Star Tracks called In the Wind. She's done a couple of things with Oscar P, and we actually just did a track together called So Happy, So Blessed, which is available on tracksource.com, basically, and on Apple Play, iTunes. It's everywhere, basically. Digital distribution is. So she's starting to do her own solo projects. I'm going to produce a track or two for her to help get her out there, the same way people produce tracks for me to get me out there. I just want to say as well, basically, as an artist, art is always supposed to reflect life, and a lot of people basically don't like to talk about current situations if they're not peaceful or happy, but we have an obligation to basically sing and produce and talk about the things that's happening in our community. That's why I did songs like Power to the Motherfucking People or Oh My Lord, because sometimes there's time basically for, a somewhat revolution. It gets to a point where Dr. King said that a riot is the actual voice of the unheard, But if we can give somebody a voice and represent them, we may not be able to get to that point that it gets so violent, So people are just looking for guidance, and music is one of the 7 daughters of wisdom. So when you talk about basically music, it's very powerful. So we got to do whatever we can to counteract basically the forces that has tried to lead our music, which leads our children in the wrong direction.